here's another one. This is December 16th, 2015. I think that says 16. We'll start with, December 15th, Tuesday, December 15th at 8 p.m. And this is from Michael Wolff, the author. He wrote to Epstein. This is when Trump was running for the nomination in December 15th of 2015. He writes, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in the scrum afterward. And then Epstein responds a couple hours later, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? And then Michael Wolff responds to him on 12/16, the next day. I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. Okay, so what does that mean? What my conclusion from this is Michael Wolff is gross. We knew that yesterday. We'll know it tomorrow. And by the way, we'll know it especially tomorrow. And that's all I'm going to say. We have a bit of a tease for what's coming up on this show, making good on a promise I made to the audience long ago on Epstein. But in any event, here he is giving PR advice. I mean, whatever. He's not a good guy. I'm sure Jeffrey Epstein needed PR advice by this point in his life, and I'm sure somebody was going to provide it to him. But that's what Wolff was doing, trying to get leverage over the possible next president of the United States. It all came to nothing, but this has got Trump's critics salivating. And then I'll just read you the last one, which is the most recent exchange. This is now from 2019, which is when Epstein got arrested. This is from Epstein to Michael Wolff, January 31st, 2019. Victim, redacted, Mar-a-Lago. Redact. I don't know what's in there. It doesn't say victim, so he's saying something else. Comma, or period. No idea what was redacted. Then he writes, Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. So he's trying to say Trump wanted me to resign from Mar-a-Lago, but I was never a member of Mar-a-Lago. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Now, that's the most incriminating thing that's in any of these emails, but we have no idea what it means. Of course, he knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine to stop. Stop what? Is this Trump found out that Epstein liked him young, something Trump has said himself on camera, and he went to Ghislaine to say, whatever you're doing, stop? Because that doesn't make Trump look bad.
Yeah.
Though it may be inconsistent with Trump's denials of knowing, much at all about what Epstein was doing. I don't know. I haven't poured through Trump's specifics on that. But this is ambiguous. However, this is kind of what made me say, wouldn't it be better for Trump if he just said, release it all? I'm not worried about any of this, rather than letting it come out piecemeal. They discovered it from the Epstein estate, and Trump had clearly directed Bondi not to produce anything. Like, if I were a Democrat, to be honest, Batya, I'd be blowing this up and asking over and over again what it means.
It's so interesting because to me, that sounds exactly like something we already knew, which is it's been reported that the reason he asked Epstein to stop coming to Mar-a-Lago was because he would hit on the daughters of the members. Like that was like out there reported. So I don't see how this is incriminating at all. It suggests that Trump, like you said, knew that Jeffrey Epstein liked them young and didn't approve of it. So we don't know when Jeffrey was talking about in that moment. So I don't really see this.
Right.
And honestly, I think Trump's instincts are so spot on about this because to me, it seems like all of the energy around the Jeffrey Epstein files is really coming from Democrats who hate Trump and hate Trump voters. And then people who are in the content business for whom before Trump was elected, this was a really big topic. This generated a lot of interest from people. But now that Trump is the president, if you look at public opinion polling of Republicans, they're just not that interested in this. And I think Trump just feels like he can ride this out, and why feed it because it's only his enemies making hay out of it. And the mainstream media just does not have that same power that it used to have. Megyn, you have all that power now to set the agenda. So I think that's kind of maybe how he's seeing it.
Yep. I mean, that I understand that rationale. Just for the record, Trump has said he stopped speaking to Epstein because Epstein stole workers from Mar-a-Lago's spa. Now, that is what happened with Virginia Giuffre. Virginia was a worker in the Mar-a-Lago spa, and Jeffrey Epstein did steal her to go work for him. So Trump is saying that's why. He's not leaning into he was sniffing around young girls, and so I told him he had to leave Mar-a-Lago story. There's another story that he broke up with Epstein because they were buds. There's no question they were very close for more than 10 years, which is what makes me believe Trump was on the Epstein plane and at Epstein's house. Of course, they were very good friends. But there's another story that Epstein took Trump to go see a property with him that Epstein was thinking of buying out of bankruptcy, and he wanted Trump to advise him on the property, and instead of advising him, Trump bought it. He bought it out from under Epstein. So I don't know why they broke up, but we're having to relive all of this nonsense because there's a number of reasons why. Because Trump and several Trump acolytes have made a very big deal out of Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, I don't think you can absolve Trump of that at all, Batya. It's like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel were the two top Epstein, theory pushers. I don't call it a conspiracy theory because they might have very well been onto something, that there was a cover up of Epstein. And then that's why it was so shocking when Trump got into power and then said, what story? What are you talking about? This is a nothing burger. Trump had not been out in front on it as the people he hired to run, like the FBI. It's not like we put them in charge of HHS, like the FBI. So that's how Republicans got into this, because it was buried under Biden. They didn't understand why we didn't get any answers. And then they thought when Trump took over, we would. And instead, Trump did what Biden had done, which was there's no there. I'm not releasing anything on this. And some Republicans are still burned by it. MTG, spoke with her last week. She's still out there saying, I demand answers on this. I want to see all the files. A couple of other Republicans are with her, like Massey and some others. But you're right. The reason that Republicans have lost interest for the most part in this is because the Democrats took it as their own, and like they do with everything, went too far. It changed from like a genuine search for truth, which I think Republicans really wanted, into just a political weapon to try to bring Trump down, which is what they do with everything. And Republicans are fucking over that game.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that press conference, was it 2 months ago, 3 months ago, where you had Ro Khanna
with the alleged victims,
and Thomas Massey with this parade of, it was so sordid, and the promise of salacious details, and then the women saying, actually, we're going to make our own list. Like the whole thing was so, after the,
where's that?
Exactly. And it just seemed like, there was a lot, like obvious money grubbing, obvious, coming together of the two sides, because both sides see themselves as Trump's political opponents and enemies. The politicization, the money aspect of it. These women who were grown-ups when they met Jeffrey Epstein talking about themselves like they were children at the time. To me, that's really off-putting. It's kind of a slap in the face to the actual victims. The Virginia Giuffre aspect, where there was just lie upon lie upon lie. Like the idea that this is kind of something that's going to bring Trump down with his own base, with the other side, I just find it to be all so sordid.
Moreover, Jeffrey Epstein, there are countless numbers of women, young women, who were brought into his houses and to his island and paid for, quote, a massage with a happy ending, for lack of a better term. I mean, countless numbers of women. And he did like them young. And there were several young women who he did this to who were minors, who were underage. There's just no question about that. That is a true fact about Jeffrey Epstein. But that is not a true fact about Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump allegedly liked the barely legal type, we would know, Batya. We would know. We know virtually everything about the man's sex life, unfortunately. And we would know if he had a penchant for the super young girls at this point. Like, he ran the Miss Universe contest. Like, yes, we heard a story about him possibly going backstage into the dressing room at least once. Not great, not particularly shocking given how Trump was when he was younger. But we have not seen some slew of young women come forward to say, me too, on Donald Trump molesting them or having paid for sex with them when they were barely legal or otherwise. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah, in fact, at that same press conference, the lawyer for a group of the women actually said Jeffrey Epstein would prey upon women when they were underage, true and disgusting and horrible. And then the lawyer said, and when they came of age and he was no longer interested in them, he would then pass them on. So there was no pedophilia ring. There was a pedophile who did unspeakable things to vulnerable girls, and then they would age out of Jeffrey Epstein's pedophilic interests, at which point he would then start to pass them around to his friends, meaning that there were not actual crimes committed by anybody beyond. There's no pedophile ring. There's a pedophile and then a bunch of friends who were getting massages at that point from women who were no longer underage. This is from the lawyer at that press conference. So I think that kind of dispels a lot of the salaciousness of the story. People are like, where is the justice for the victims? The justice is one of the people who did unspeakable things to them died in prison, and the other one is still in prison. So they got their justice. And the whole ring idea, I think, has been wildly blown out of proportion for these political reasons.
I don't know about ring, but there are definitely a couple of very well-connected people who have not been brought to justice. I'm not going to repeat the names here, but one of them is a very, very successful business owner. No, I don't want to get sued, but one of them is a hugely successful business owner who seems to be a bit of a pervert, and his name is all over the papers. His connections to Epstein are very, very well known. They were connected financially. They were connected as friends. And I want to know more about him. There's plenty who I want to know more about who have been publicly linked to Epstein and seem to have dodged responsibility. That's my own take on it. It's not that I'm not referring to secret names only I know. I'm talking about names that are in the paper. But again, without hardcore proof, you shouldn't say their names because you don't know whether it's true. But, people know the names. We've heard them many, many times. Anyway, I do think there are some who are so well connected or did such a good job of hiding their tracks that they'll never be facing real charges. As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. He liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn. Now they call it child sexual abuse material on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh, no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein matters anymore. Yeah, so I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10. I was under 14 when I first came within his purview. Look, you can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. Yeah. It's just whatever. It's sick. Every time we start talking about Epstein, it makes your skin crawl, right? The whole thing is just disgusting.
Totally.
Anyway, well, what do you think? Does this stay in the news around Trump? Because I'll give you a couple of reactions here. You got Alex Berenson, who's a straight shooter, great reporter, writing, so at Real Donald Trump, quote, knew about the girls, quoting Epstein, and at Michael Wolff is an even bigger scumbag than any of us knew. and we all knew, he writes, that he was an enormous scumbag. Trump cannot bluster his way out of this. He'd better accept that whatever is in the files is coming out. Good, he writes. And then there's more. Mike Cernovich on X, who's a great follow, writes, Trump broke everyone's heart with this line about, oh, sorry, that's a different one. That's different. That's different criticism on Trump on his H-1B visas, which we'll get to. Confuse my two stories. But there was more on Trump, just some pushback on whether this is his own fault. So I don't know. Does this go away in a day, or is this with us for a while?
Well, honestly, I have to say, it's funny you brought up the H-1B visas. Like, it's not necessarily terrible for Trump for the next 24 hours to be an Epstein news cycle, because the news cycle was really bad this morning before this broke. He had this disastrous interview with Laura Ingraham in which he really, really went against what MAGA wants on the Chinese students in universities, and then the H-1B visas. There's the affordability crisis, which he's not doing a great job of responding to and showing empathy for. So, it's, in my view, the news cycle was actually a lot worse for him before this broke, because he knows how to get through a Jeffrey Epstein news cycle, okay?
Can you imagine if it shifts now, if Pam Bondi's like, I'm going to release it all. I changed my mind.
Right, exactly. It's like,
you raise a very good
doesn't
point.
have to worry about the midterms for 48 hours, right? It's like...
This is a very good point. Is maybe Trump told the House Oversight Committee to just release it. Do it. Go ahead. Do me a solid too and redact the name Virginia Giuffre. That'll give him a lot to chew on. It's the one time of year that Birch Gold Group gives away free gold with every qualifying purchase. That's right. For Black Friday, when you convert an existing IRA or 401k in whole or in part into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold, Birch Gold will send free gold to your home for every $20,000 purchased. Gold started this year around $2,600 an ounce. By October, it was over $4,000 an ounce. Why? Global uncertainty. 2025 has been defined by trade wars. Central banks are pulling from the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency, and military tension continues to build. Gold thrives in times of uncertainty, and if you are looking to diversify your savings, Birch Gold can help you. Plus, now through November 30th, get free gold with a qualifying purchase. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and for our free info kit on gold. But your opportunity for free gold with purchase will end on November 30th. So don't wait. Text MK to the number 989898 for full details. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.